outside, the labor market in Norway seems to function better than in most other countries. Despite various shocks, unemployment has remained low and lower than many thought was possible. Today, the economy has largely returned to normal after the pandemic. And the demand for labor is high, and many employers are struggling to recruit qualified labor. These are challenges that had increased by the decline in labor immigration from Scandinavia and Eastern Europe. But when we look at other aspects of the Norwegian labor market, the picture is not as bright as it may seem. No? Yeah. This figure shows that the exclusion from the labor market is persistent and is high. Our calculations in NAV shows that almost a fifth of the possible man-years in the economy are lost in result of illness or unemployment. And if you look at the situation in Norway compared to other countries, we can see that in an international context, Norway is world champion in health-related exclusion from the labor market. We do not know what the correct level should be, but there's a broad consensus in Norway that this number is too high. And of course, increased participation in the labor market is therefore important for us, both to ensure the Norwegian labor welfare state in the years to come, when we will have a lot of pensioners, and to ensure a good life for everyone in the working age in Norway. So, when we can see that these numbers are quite stable over time, so we had to think, what do we do now? And we did that some years ago. And we had to accept that the labor market politics, we have to deliver better. And what should we do? Well, increased use of working life as a goal and a mean. Increased competence about work inclusion in the NAV organization. Better user participation, trust that the users have competence about their own situation and needs. We also saw that we haven't been good enough to work with the employers to achieve inclusion and meet their needs. Listen more to employers, find out what their needs are and how inclusion can contribute to their goals. And we have not been able to get the sectors to work together to provide a comprehensive offer to vulnerable groups. And especially collaboration with the health sector. As in Norway and other countries, none of the sectors can solve the challenges related to health and work alone. So what have we done? We have tried to do this development in politics the right way. So we aim to increase our knowledge base. We have captured the 5-step process in SE, IPS from abroad, and have been inspired to implement the job specialist role in NAV. We have collaborated with the universities to get more research on work inclusion and work health. We have initiated national experiments on place train within NAV, service providers, and the health sector. And we have learned that to be able to point out results based on research and evidence has been crucial to get political commitment to place train and the willingness to invest in these kind of measures over time. And NAV does not only order services from providers, but does much of the work inclusion by ourselves. And by that, we have achieved a stringent competence in NAV by doing more service in-house and training our own employees in new methods. And we have been working with the relationships with other public sectors, such as health and eventually education. And as you can see here, the place train has increased rapidly in the last years, and our aim is that it should rise even more in the coming years. And I think we come quite far by now. So what is the status by now? As I said, major steps have been taken to bring up relevant, high-quality research. Knowledge is to a greater extent incorporated in professional guidelines, competence measures, and development. Employment specialists is now a service in most job centers in Norway. And regular caseworkers in job centers are also directed towards place train. We work with courses and competence to increase inclusion competence among the supervisors, and IPS is a part of the Public Employment Service in several municipalities. Instead of health collaborating with job centers, we do it the other way around. This is mainly due to structural factors, such as securing stable financing over time. Some have been disappointed that the transition to work from SE is not higher than what we have measured. But no trees grow in the sky. If we achieve any better results than the alternative, we must be satisfied, I think, and work on improving the service. So what do we now? We still need more research and systematic verification. SE must not become a religion for believers, and that might happen sometimes, I think, even here. And we have to ask us, can the main elements from the methodology be used in new areas? And in Norway, research shows that we must improve the service, particularly in two aspects. Better preparation with participants, and better preparation and follow-up with the employer. And we also concerned to avoid diluting the methodology. We have to define what is good enough in the meeting with a field of practice versus that what we do is not based on defined methods and evidence. That's not easy in the daily life. We still need to improve the competence among supervisors and health personnel. We may need more systematic follow-up to ensure quality. And we see that we have these problems to get the collaboration between sectors. And I think that's mainly to different management system and financing systems between the sectors that makes these problems. And we have to find out a way to solve them so we can grow even more in the number of measures. So, what have we learned? We learned that creating change challenges thought, patterns, funding, management, prioritization. But we also learned that increased competence on place training now gives more satisfied users. And increased competence among our partners, especially those we buy services from. It is possible to bring out about changes in our and your own organization fairly quick. That's our experience. It requires only prioritization of the money and effort in the direction you want. The organization has a great desire to use tools that are more effective. We have also asked us if the health should run the IPS in the future, as in most other countries. It can provide better anchoring with the IPS as a part of the health service. But in our context, it's also a bit risky. We need long-term commitment and finance. In the absence of joint management of these different sectors from the top, our experience, and we spent a lot of time on that, is that it's very important to work with sales and anchoring in the health sector, in the regions and locally. And we've been asked us, and also promoted it for the ministry, should we have joint budgeting between health and work. When we had started to work between this sector many years ago, we had some kind of joint funding, and it worked very well. So that might be an idea to work on in the future. To summarize, our experience is that to succeed, or at least improve, you need knowledge, you need a good and bold plan, and you need a lot of patience. Don't expect an enormously raise in the results. ESSI is an effective measures, but it's not the answer to all problems in the labor market. Thank you for listening.